A terrifying but true scary story I experienced when I was 12. I moved to my dad's when I was 10 and didn't know anyone in the area except for the family, my dad, and his friends. Single mom with three kids. Luckily, there was a girl a couple years older than me, 12 at the time I met her, and we got to know each other a little over a couple of years. We weren't close, but ended up having the same friends. One night, my friend Rob was hanging out with her and her younger brother. They happened to be in the house alone because my friend's mom's was at work, which is where this gets terrifying and sad. Her mother has been helping this one lady and got to know her family fairly well. She found out her sister was in a mental institution. It was allowed recently. The night Rob is hanging out with me and my friend, they get a knock on the door. My friend thought it was just their mom. She knocks in a certain way when coming in and answered it without thinking. Rob wasn't supposed to be there and he took off through the window to his friend's house down the road. He never thought twice about it. Wasn't her mom. It was a sister of the lady her mom was helping, and she figured out through talking to her sister where her family lived and her mom's working schedule. She came in, and this is where I don't know the details, and I'm glad I don't. My friend's younger brother got away to call the police. The lady brutally murdered my friend a week from Christmas, decapitated her, left her body naked in a hot tub, hit her head, and they looked through the presents, and I don't know where they found it, but they did. I wasn't allowed to go to her funeral. By Christopher Squawkin. I was sitting in my room after getting off of work on the second floor. Little bro is downstairs watching TV. The dog in the hallway is outside my door sleeping. All of a sudden, the dog starts making all kinds of racket, jumping around, barking, clacking nails, howling. I go to get up to see what's up and I hear, "Aw, that's a good girl," in a male voice. It didn't sound like little bro, so I go, "Oh, you're home early," thinking it's my dad. As I open the door, soon as I'm out there, there is no one at all but the dog wagging her tail is staring at the empty end of the hallway. Little bro comes upstairs to yell at me for getting his dog riled up. Said he heard the same voice thinking it was me or our roommate. We did it once over the house with my butterfly knife and his BB gun. There was nobody. Still gives me the spook to this day. By user Vebin. My aunt experienced something similar. She was home alone when she heard someone open the door and start walking in the hallway. Since her husband, my uncle, was not supposed to get home in a few hours, she went downstairs to see if someone was there. She did not see anyone, but outside the door she saw footsteps in the snow leading to the door but not away from it. This got her nervous, and on second glance she saw an unfamiliar pair of shoes in the hallway. She ran up and called the police, and when they came and searched through the house, they found a homeless man hiding in the storage room, holding my uncle's shotgun, but luckily he had not found the ammunition. It was hidden in another place. He was arrested, but according to my aunt, is the scariest thing she has ever experienced. By user Blood Light Beer 27. I posted this last night in a similar askreddit thread. A few years ago, I was home alone at nighttime. I was watching the TV in the living room when I heard the doorbell ring. Whenever I hear the doorbell ring, especially when I'm home alone, I am cautious to answer it. I walk up to the people without turning on the porch light so they don't know if anyone is actually home or not, and look through. It's really dark, but I can see a small figure, more like a black blob. I don't know, it's definitely shaped and had to be around 3 to 4 feet tall, doing like a dancing motion, dipping down, oscillating its arms outward. Think of a person move their arms like wings gracefully. It was dark outside, but this figure was more opaque. I couldn't see what was going on. After a few seconds, I stopped looking through the peephole because it was too freaky to look at. I regained some courage and looked back through whatever it was gone. To this day, I still don't know what it was, and I get freaked out even thinking about it. Just to make you and everyone else more nervous about looking through the peephole, you can totally tell when someone looks through the peephole. You can see the light change, even if the lights are dark inside. The blob knew you were there and wanted to show you the creep dance of his people. By user deleted. I know this sounds really weird, but I believe you. I saw sort of the same thing when I was sleeping over at my friend's house when I was a little kid. I woke up in the middle of the night and looked out my friend's window down his driveway. He had a second story house. I see a black shape shifting bob that keeps moving around sporadically, dancing around in his driveway. I woke my friend up and he said he saw the same thing. Continuing on from that, my ex-wife had several weird experiences. I'll just relate this one. I'm at work one day when she calls me out of the blue. We were still married at the time. She usually did not call me during the day because she worked the night shift. She tells me to call my friend Danny and make sure he and his family are okay. When I ask why, she tells me she had a dream but can't remember it, but that I should call Danny and make sure she's okay. So I call Danny and check with him. I tell him about my wife's dream. He's mildly amused but tells me that he and his family are fine and thanks my wife for her concern. I call her back and let her know all is well. She is very dubious about when she hears the news. I found out later, within a half an hour of my phone call to Danny, he got another call from his uncle in Florida to tell him that Danny's son has hanged himself. There's an abandoned house next to mine. That previous owner moved out to California 25 years prior and never sold it. I got a flashlight, gloves, and pushed the window open and went inside, starting with the basement. In the basement was a grand piano, still plays but very much out of tune. Old World War II stuff, what seemed like to be signed by Elvis poster. Some other really cool shit no one should ever leave behind. There's basically a whole story in that basement, including a broken wedding picture frame and instruments everywhere. On the main floor was an unmade bed, molded food still in the fridge, and on the stovetop, half empty beers turned solid. Lights that still hadn't been turned on. Then I started walking upstairs when I heard crying from one of the side rooms. That's when I freaked the F out and haven't been there since. Alrighty, this is the late 80s slash early 90s. I was around 6 or 7 years old. I'm at home with my sister who was 14 or 15 at the time. We grew up in a small Texas town, everyone knows about it. We are home alone this particular night, and my folks let my sister babysit me frequently. We always get along due to our age gap. Anyway, it is about 8 p.m. in the winter. Deserts get pretty damn cold, so it is dark, and we are in the common room since that was where the TV was, watching 60 Minutes or 48 Hours or Hard Copy or some shit. Those 1 hour news pieces on CBS that chronicle large crimes and deaths, trafficking, murders, kidnappings, and all that. Basically, a gritty Lifetime special. This one was a typical story of a guy who was next door that was quiet on a rampage in his next door neighbor's house, mutilating them and kidnapping their young daughter. Well, the thing about our house common room is that the door leading to the backyard was a very large glass door on the wall of the floor to the ceiling. Nothing but blackness beyond it unless you have the black light on, which we didn't. The front door is on the other side of the room with a small entryway. This is a solid door so you cannot see what is behind it, with a glass storm door on the outside of it. About 45 minutes into this show, they are talking about ongoing manhunt for this crazy guy, and bam, bam, bam. Front door bangs like crazy. We jump the heck up and scream like banshees. Dead silence now. The only lights in the house are the kitchen down the hall from the common room. We were in the light from the TV. We started thinking something on the porch. We had some planters and a rocking chair out there. Had simply blown against the door. This was West Texas. Crazy strong winds out that way. Well, a minute or two of silence and us holding each other post adrenaline overdose passes. Just when we were about to declare everything is saved, we hear the safe door outside our door close. Crap, someone had to have opened that door to be able to bang on the front door like that. Shit, shit, shit. We are both frozen in the middle of the room floor where we had been watching TV. My sister crawls over to the TV and turns it off. It was an old TV, so you had to turn that metal dial, switch it off. Which it does as a mildly loud thunk. Now it is just us in a room dimly lit by the kitchen light down the hall. I do not remember how much time passed with me and my sister frozen on the couch, still crouched by the TV. We kept making eye contact and looking at the front door. I remember this part vividly. I am on my knees sitting on my feet and I turn around to look at the back wall of the windows and glass door. We hear and I see the back door knob turn. It was locked on the knob but not dead bolted. It rattles slightly, and if someone is gently trying the handle, neither of us make a sound. Just hold our breath and bam, bam, bam. Loud as hell, someone's trying to force the door open, jerking it back and forth. The whole wall of windows is vibrating violently, and I can see with each stroke of the door how slight my reflection gets fuzzy, then clear, then fuzzy. My sister flips her shit and screams bloody murder. I am still frozen on the floor. She gets up and basically drags me into her bedroom, slams the door, throws her mattress and anything she can in front of her door. Thankfully, she had remembered the phone, one of those ungodly heavy beige plastic long metal antenna portable phones. We still had to direct dial the sheriff there, and in her panic didn't remember the number. She just hit redial on the phone. It was one of her friends, and she tells them in broken gas that someone is trying to get into her house and needs to get here right effing now. The profanity sticks out here more than anything else. Who knows? Young brain. I am curled up on the floor and cannot stop shaking. We don't hear anything else until we see the headlights of my sister's friends and her parents driving up to the house. We never did find out who was at the door or why. There was no signs of anything happening but a couple of scuff marks on the bottom of the back door. We could not remember if they were there beforehand or not. Nothing like that has happened to me or her ever since, but for damn sure we never forget to lock the door after that. Very similar to something that happened to me a few months ago. I am a girl. I live in a pretty big old house with 5 Navy guys. My room is by itself out in the detached garage. So one night I'm sleeping out there, and in my dream, I assume, I'm hearing a loud rattling noise. I slowly start waking up, but I'm pretty out of it. I open my eyes and look around, and the noise continues. The door is about 3 feet from the end of my bed, and the doorknob is rattling like crazy. It almost sounds like someone is pounding on it, but I can't tell if someone's knocking on it or just trying to open it. At this point, I realize I'm really awake and this is not a dream. Even my lab worker, who never wakes up during the night, is up and staring at the door. I often used to forget to lock my door because we live in what seems like a pretty quiet neighborhood. But thankfully, I began deadbolting it more regularly, maybe like a week before, probably due to something I read on Reddit. I don't remember. I am terrified. I always hoped I'd be the one of those people who responded better in a situation like this, but I was not. The door is still rattling, and I can see the motion light is on and shining through the window in my closet. All my blinds are closed. I am near tears, and I throw my blanket over my head and wait to die. I have literally nothing in my room. I couldn't defend myself with anything except a flashlight, which I am holding onto tightly. I am paralyzed with fear and just sit there as silently as I can, curled up in the fetal position with my metal flashlight. A minute later, the noise stops, and I'm finally able to move. I have a weird closet with my window at the top and a big bench, so I crawl in there, climb up on the bench, poke my head up. A few seconds after that, the motion light goes out and I miss what was ever going on. I run back to my bed and begin thinking logically. I live with 5 guys. They often have people late at night going out of downtown. I look at my watch. It's 2:30, about the time they'd get home from bars closing. Maybe someone was very intoxicated and just being stupid, right? So I text all my roommates, trying not to make a big deal out of it sounding silly. Hey guys, are you up? Do you have any people over? Someone was outside my door knocking and trying to get in. I assumed someone just must be drunk or something. Ha, kinda creepy. Less than 2 minutes after that, I heard the back door of the main house sweep open. I hear whistling and banging, and my roommates are running around the backyard with baseball bats. Thankful one of them is let a light slipper and woke up, and he got another guy up. I open the door, run inside with my dog, and don't go to sleep again that night. My roommate spent the next couple of hours patrolling the house and watching out the windows. We never saw anyone, but they did find a pack of cigarettes lying in our backyard along with a bag of Hardee's or something like that. More than that, likely, it was just someone trying to rob us, and because there were 6 cars in the driveway, they decided to go for the garage, where they probably assumed no one was, not in the house. They'd probably get themselves killed. However, at the time, for all I knew, all my roommates have already been murdered, and I was the last one to go. That's what I figured at the time, anyways. Anyway, definitely not the scariest story in this way, but I definitely didn't sleep for a while after that, and it took me about 3 weeks to start sleeping out in my room again. When I was 10 or so, I went with my dad to go ice fishing and it had just snowed the night before, so you couldn't see the ice. On our way to the ice house, I ended up falling straight through an unmarked hole that had been buried in a layer of ice covering it. The scariest part was that this was instantly shutting down and sinking because of the cold. I could look up and see where I'd fallen through, but I couldn't swim back up to it. After a few seconds, I finally whittled myself up at the edge. My dad pulled me the rest of the way out. Cover your holes when you're done with them.